Well, following public outcry, President Bola Tinubu has directed Nigeria's Attorney General to ensure the immediate release of all minors arrested during the recent End Bad Governance protest in August, while also overseeing an investigation into any misconduct by law enforcement officials involved in their arrest. The decision comes after disturbing scenes of malnourished young Nigerians fainting in court last week sparked outrage among politicians and civil society groups. In a briefing with State House correspondents, Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris highlighted the President's commitment to democracy and the rule of law. As part of the directives, an administrative committee led by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction will examine the minors' arrest, detention, treatment, and release.
The President has directed that these minors, be released immediately. This is, of course, without prejudice to whatever legal processes there are. Of course, if you look at this issue, there is the legal side of it, but there is also the human angle, the humanitarian side of it. Mr. President has directed that whatever the circumstances are, let the minors be released. They can, of course, continue whatever process there are, if indeed there are, as stipulated by our laws. But the minors, the President has directed that all of them be released. To recap, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs has been directed by the President to ensure that they have safe return and reunion to their family members. And like I said earlier, if there are any infractions being committed by any law enforcement officer or any official of government, a disciplinary action will be taken against such person.
Right, joining us now is Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Joy Ezeilo, who is a former UN Special Rapporteur on trafficking in persons. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight tonight. First, let's get your thoughts on this arraignment of 30-something children considered as minors and charged with treason. What are your thoughts, first off, before we get to the President's latest directive?
Yes, I was shocked. It lies, and I couldn't even believe it, that in this 21st century that we can have such a situation. It was such an that shamed of our humanity, put Nigeria in a dent in our process, especially criminal system. Because if you look, it's very clear, laws, or even the state laws, the national laws, regional and international laws, there are ones that deal with the issue of protection of juveniles who by law. The Beijing rules are there, the Raya principles are there, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the Child's Rights Act, the African Charter on Rights and Welfare of the Child. All of these things Nigeria has ratified. And we actually have also municipal laws covering it. So it's not an issue of absence of law. But what I see, systemic failure, when police have extensive powers, these powers are unchecked, especially the power to arrest and detain, and people don't question even their superiors. When they send them to prison, the prison refused and said, no, we cannot accept these minors. And eventually they were detained in the former SARS facilities. People, even if they are public officers, law enforcement officers, must understand standards that in their area of operation. and understand that they must be accountable for failure to follow the extant law, because their work is to maintain law and order. We are not saying that children cannot be in conflict with the law. Children commit crimes, and if they commit crimes, various crimes, you divert them from formal as minors, formal process of the law. And that diversion means if they must be tried, it must be in the juvenile justice, juvenile courts, and by judges, competent, impartial, independent, judiciary that will try them. But trial or detention should be a last resort. We must always think of not criminalizing the child, avoiding stigmatization, and avoiding victimization. They are all very important and crucial in dealing with children and child justice system, because you think of the aim, which is to divert them from formal process.
Well, I think, Professor Ezeilo, you've just nailed it there, and that is why, because it was almost impossible for any of the media organizations to blur the faces of these children. And we saw the treatment of the detainees and, of course, the health implications. Before we get to talking about what the presidency has said, how can this be fixed, knowing full well that this is happening? We're having this conversation because this came on the news. There are other children, if possible, going through the same situation. So treatment of detainees, they were hungry, they were malnourished. Does their right stop the moment they're arrested?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, because there are fair trial procedures. They are constitutionally guaranteed. The fact that someone is arrested, even using that word arrest for minors, I cringe a bit, because for situations like that, their parents, their guardians must be present, and they must be informed promptly of the charges before them. They must be also brought before the diverted informal justice system as quickly as possible, if need be. If they must be remanded, it must be in Boston facility, it must be in a remand home or approved institute, approved schools where they can also continue their education. Can you imagine for 30 days, for 90 days, 3 months, they were not in school? So, but just like I said, this is just what has come into the open. So, and I can assure you, research has been done, and I've been involved in some other studies that will show that at least almost 60% of children and adults across our correctional facilities. And that shouldn't be the practice, because their identities must be protected. They must not be detained, they must be separated from adults. Because this is also for their interest, because some of them also face additional abuse. They can be criminals, and then a lot of things will happen that will shape them forever, damage them, and they will also become a bigger problem for the society. So you look at the age of the child, the physical and mental immaturity or the evolving capacity of a child, and you treat a child in accordance with that. I think the problem, which I must admit, is that criminal responsibility, age of criminal responsibility is too low in Nigeria. Nigeria is one of the lowest, is the country with the lowest age of criminal responsibility. And what do I mean by that? Under our law, a child under 7 years of age is criminally irresponsible. That is dully incapacitated. Between 7 and 12, the child, if he commits a crime, is criminally responsible if he or she knows that what he or she is doing is wrong. Of course, that is also very subjective, and that is only in respect of having carnal knowledge that you can say a child under 12 years is criminally irresponsible. So with that, we have and the rules and the standard for which also Nigeria are part of as a member of Committee of Nations, says that don't fix age of criminal responsibility at too low an age. But there is no universal age, I must tell you, because it depends on culture, history of a particular people. There are countries where you will see that is even 18. Even in some countries before, like in Japan, I don't know whether they've changed, is even 21. So if they have low crimes and depending on their culture, they could have. So if you go across detention facility, you will see huge number of minors. Pain. And the worst is the detention facilities, incarcerated, staying there for years, and they become, even some deliberately, they will keep them until they become an adult to start their trial. And there is no way maybe a magistrate or a judge for which they have brought them in their presence will even know.
Now, speaking
So
of
speaking of
knowing,
accountability by the system.
yes, indeed, and you, I mean, let me just quickly get your reaction and how worrying is it for you when you hear from the presidency that it was not aware that these minors were in detention? How much more, know what treatment, was being meted to them? How troubling is that for you?
For me, I think it's possible. It's troubling, but it's possible that the president is not aware. And even for the Attorney General of the Federation. But the issue is that then the oversight function, then there is the and breaches in those oversight function. We have administration of criminal justice. We have the standard. The problem is implementation of this standard. And the fact that actually even the law enforcement officers and the police may not even understand the standard. They have been trained not to even question higher authority. But you had, even in this current going on Gaza war, when they try to use Israelis and their officers, superior officers, they use the Palestinians as shield. They say, no. That is against the international laws of war crime. And they refused. And that was reversed. In Nigeria, a superior gives you an order, you know rules, you don't know that these are the rules and that you're not supposed to obey unlawful instructions. And they continue to obey unlawful instruction. So it is sad. And it is sad that is in the people exercising their right to freedom of association, assembly, protest, that people then are criminalized. And I think the charges also is something, when you look at charging them for treason. Treason is the most serious form of crime anyone can commit under our penal laws. Not even homicide, treason. And that is, the sentence is death penalty. But when it's treasonable felony, then it's life imprisonment. And you don't even think about, trying children and sentencing them to death or to life imprisonment without possibility. All those things are not, so they frame all these charges in order to be able to keep them there. And then also, because when you look at the bail condition, the judge would seem like, like the hands of the judge are tied because they are looking at the weight of the crime that they are being charged. They wouldn't be looking at it as, Afri or people who have gone to protest and they have committed. They would be looking at it as a very serious crime. But even at that, the discretion was not properly exercised.
Absolutely. Professor Ezeilo, I'm afraid we're out of time, but it's always a delight. Good to see you, by the way, and we're happy with your insights. We do hope that we'll find time to come back to you on some other national and international burning issues.
Especially, I call for investigation. The accountability aspect is what I like in what Mr. President has said.
Absolutely.
As I commend him,
Fantastic.
Please let it not just stop in there. There must be an accountability.
Absolutely. Professor Joy Ezeilo, a delight speaking with you here on Newsnight.